Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and today I'm going to go over a small little tip or strategy, I guess you could call it, that can work for both you and your team in specific situations at specific times. This strategy pertains to spawn trapping the enemy on the Conquest game mode. You might have a few doubts in your head when hearing that. Things like spawn trapping is for COD, or yeah, I know what spawn trapping is, it's where one team pushes the other team all the way back. But I mean it in a more specific sense, and it's something that you can sometimes do as a squad or even on your own. I very rarely see people doing this, and I've never heard anyone talk about it, although I'm sure some of you have done it, and surely there's a content creator out there somewhere who suggested this before. But just in case people aren't aware, on some Conquest maps, the enemy home spawn will have 3 distinct routes out of it, essentially 3 lanes, and usually the enemy will use the 2 main lanes out of the spawn and ignore the 3rd lane, which takes longer to go through. You can use this playing norm to your advantage, both for spawn trapping and escaping spawn traps when you're stuck in one. Arabian Forest is a good example of what I'm talking about, and in the footage you'll see there'll be a section that shows me patrolling this enemy spawn area and limiting their ability to leave. So now you may be thinking, well, surely you do what people do all the time. You sit on the nearby flag, grab a head glitch or some basic cover and try to stop the enemy leaving. And sure, you can do that, but most of your nearby teammates are likely already doing that there. Plus that has drawbacks. Sure, you can see the enemy come out, but they know where to look for you, at least to a certain extent. Without the element of surprise or some form of advantage over the enemy, you're limiting your ability to affect the situation and hold the enemy back. So what do I suggest? Push right up, like right up. Most people won't, as it means you have to get across an open area without dying, and then hold that spot against multiple enemies applying consistent pressure. And this is one of the main reasons why this is situational. It's not always going to be a good idea. Don't just run into a face full of bullets. Time your push for when there's a lull in the action and nail down a position of power. How you do this depends on the map. For example, on Amiya, you've got long roads out of one of the spawn, so it's possible to spawn trap here, but in a much more limited fashion. You have to be more restrained, hold the corners, check down the line, and potentially keep switching position. But on a map like Arabian Forest, you can use cover and unsighted corners to your advantage. Trust me, most enemies will not expect you to push the corners, and they can't see you waiting to do it as they come out of spawn. There are also areas you can stand in that allow you to see one exit and hear the other one. So now you've got your own personal kill zone for as long as you can manage to hold it. Maybe that's for 2 or 3 kills, or if you're a particularly able player, perhaps you can stretch this out into a kill streak. And remember, you can also enter into the enemy spawn for 10 seconds before you die. You can get in there, do what you need to do, and get back out. Once again, the enemy will likely not expect you to do this. I also find dynamite to be super helpful for this strategy, as you can bait people out of their lane onto the dynamite, or throw your dynamite round for when they're camping that lane and you want to clear them out without peeking out in front of a load of them waiting for you. But why bother doing all of this? What are the benefits? Well, obviously there's the fact you're holding the enemy off the flag, but you're also doing more. You're gaining your team more points by helping them to hold flags. Again, this is pretty obvious, but you can also be making life especially difficult for the enemy team if they have limited or no flags, and even more so if you're on a map without planes, as they'll have no way to drop in behind you from the air. The longer you do this for, the more enemies die on the map and the more squads become trapped. Best case scenario, you give your team a huge upper hand for a while simply by deciding to try to be more expansive and aggressive with your play than simply sitting and watching from the nearby flag. You're giving the enemy a completely different problem from the rest of the guys behind you. Bonus points, you might also be causing rage amongst some members of the enemy team, which can cause some players to make worse and worse decisions and send their level of play plummeting down. And of course, this can also be lots of fun. Obviously, this won't work on all maps, but it does pay to learn about spawn regardless. And then it obviously won't work for all situations, as I've stated. You have to pick the right times and also be aware of when it isn't working anymore. If it's worth you moving to another spot on the map to find action, then do so. But when this works, man, it can be awesome. So, will you be trying this? Or have you had success with it before? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's go over to the board of awesome for the epic people who allow you to get content from me full-time by supporting the channel on Patreon. Without Patreon support, I simply wouldn't be able to make as many videos as I'd need to go and get another job in order to have decent finances. So thank you very much to everyone on here. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you don't want to miss future videos, turn on notifications with the bell button and select to always be notified with the options tab that should then pop up, and then feel free to like, share and subscribe. I'm GetGoodGuy and I'll see you next time. Laters.